Okay, how does one remain attuned to oneself?
By following the heart, by following what's within.
How do you follow what is within?
You have to be sensitive enough to see what you feel within your heart and accept that.
So how many years have you been here?
18, maybe around 17 or 18.
And how would you sum up your 18 years over here in a few
I
words?
can't sum it up. It's not possible to sum it up.
But you can definitely tell us something about your experience.
It's not something which can be described in words. One has to experience it for themselves and see what it is. Things go crazy, everything goes out of control. You have something that you expect, that it should go your way, or something that should flow your way, or it should turn out the way you want to be. And the most interesting thing that happens is events start to unfold in the exact opposite direction. If you're a control freak, then it's something which completely destroys that nature of control. It forces you to surrender. It forces you to surrender to a certain divine law, a divine way of being, which you don't have any personal control over, but there is some supreme force which takes charge of everything, and then you just have to accept that. You can't live thinking, I plan to do this and this is the way it should happen. Things don't happen that way. It just doesn't work that way.
So you mean to say you never plan anything?
Not particularly, no long-term plans.
And short-term?
Also no. Because even if you plan to have, let's say, a dinner, then probably we have the biggest disaster in the house. Yes.
So what has been your happiest time?
What has been my happiest time? That is too personal to discuss over here. But the happiest time has been the time that was spent in the vicinity of Yogi Ramsuratkumar.
Can you describe it just a little bit?
It's a love affair of, I don't know how to put it also. It's just a divine love affair. There are no boundaries. It's just free. I can't even describe it. It's just a divine love affair. When you meet a true master in your life, a guru in your life, and if there's a genuine relationship, actually there's no relationship, because everything about a relationship is dissolved in the vicinity of a guru. So only divinity unfolds, the supreme unfolds. But the process is not just of having to experience love for another being. The process is just where the supreme nature of love, the supreme nature of divinity is revealing itself within yourself. So you are awakening, you're becoming more aware of the divine love within your own heart, of the grace within your own heart, of the beauty and the peace and the love within your own heart. And that's what the external guru does. He pushes you within. He pushes you within so you can recognize that grace from within and you start living in that grace. So the guru outside is revealing the guru within, and there is absolutely no difference between the one without and the one within. And in that process, all the boundaries drop. The rigidity of the mind is diluted. It is somehow, it's never forced to surrender. It just surrenders because it does not have any other way it can express its gratitude. It accepts this for what it is and just surrenders. A lot of people understand that surrender is, surrender to another person. It's not a surrender to another person. It's surrender to the self that is within. It's surrender to the true nature. It's surrender to the Amma. It's surrender to that grace. And the Guru, the embodiment of the Guru, manifestation of the Guru, external physical Guru, is only trying to remind us constantly that being in this awareness, being in this nature, is being in truth, is living in truth. Being in this nature is living in truth, is being in truth. The mind does not accept it. It takes a long time to accept, but sooner or later, finally, it just accepts it because there is no other way. There is really no other way to go.
So why does the mind find it so difficult to accept?
Because of desire. Mind has a lot of desire. Mind has a lot of need, it has a lot of want, it has a lot of thoughts, so it has a lot of desire. Mind experiences a lot of desire. But through the grace that is earned, one can sometimes even bypass desire. It's possible to do that. Or allow the desires to be, released, not accumulated. Allow the desires to be diminished. And that doesn't happen just like that. There has to be a sincere yearning to be free, an absolute, truthful yearning to be free, to want to be free. Even that wanting is desire, but that's the only desire which is a worthy desire compared to all the other desires, because all the other desires are only going to take us more in the direction of taking us away from ourselves. But the desire of truly yearning to be free would be a desire which would bring us more to ourselves. It will take us within. It will take us in the direction where you will truly want to meet your freedom. You will truly want to become one with your freedom. So the nature of mind is to get distracted. is to forget its true nature. It's to get identified with anything, name, form, object, concept, thoughts. It just identifies with something and becomes one with. But when mind starts to identify itself as consciousness, as awareness, as truth, when it truly desires for freedom, for truth, then even that unfolds a certain grace. Even that brings what is truly needed for the mind to experience any sense of transformation or, being subdued.
So when the mind is actually or is undergoing this process, then it will have very little to do with this world, right?
It depends what is the nature of mind we are living in. If it's a very purified mind, then it is almost like not having a mind at all, because of the state of purification, because of the state of surrender. Its rigidity, its denseness has become thinner. Imagine if it's something very rock solid and you take a salt doll or a rock salt, just a salt, a rock which is a chunk of salt, and you just throw it into the water, and over a period of time, you just throw it into the water, and over a period of time, it starts to dissolve. Its rigidity starts to dissolve. It starts to almost become nothing. And at one stage, it completely dissolves. It completely becomes one with water, and there's no more discrimination between what is water and what is salt. So it starts to dissolve, and there's absolutely no discrimination between what is water and what is salt. At that time, the mind has completely surrendered itself. It's become no mind. There is no other experience, no sense of separation experience, no distinct sense of separation experience, that this is me and this is the other. All the denseness of the mind, all the rigidity of the mind is only arising because of its identification with desire and its identification with the sense of separateness, with the body. Desire will always be in relation with the body. Therefore the mind becomes completely rigid.
So for a person who's living in the world but still experiences a desire for freedom, how would he arrive at a point where he can experience complete dissolution of the world?
That really depends on how truly he wants this freedom.
So does that mean
What
that he has
ways?
to physically abandon the life that he is living, or is it another kind of a process altogether?
It really depends on what he really wants, what weighs more for him. Even if one is not physically able to change the life situation whereby it becomes more conducive to having to live a life which is more dedicated with the sense of, for the purpose of self-realization, or at least we can attempt to simplify a lot of things in our life and spend some time with the natural sense of quietness that comes. Even that helps. You associate yourself with good things, you associate yourself with, reading good things, good books, scriptures or Bhagavad Gita or whatever it may be, any information, any book which allows you to feel inspired, which allows you to feel to move in that direction, which helps you to question the truth of your existence. So there's a natural self-inquiry which arises within you. Then it doesn't really matter. Your life is simplified to an extent where at least you can have more time for yourself, to give more time for yourself. There are so many things you can read, you can listen, you can watch, you can associate with some people. If you can always find some saints or some holy people or good friends or inspiring people to be around with, who help you to relate with yourself in an integrated way, to make you feel, which makes you feel more wholesome about yourself. It is how we are using our current situation and allowing the transformation to take effect from there, rather than abandoning our current situation and having to change everything in another direction.
On a more general note, it would be very difficult to concise it to a given circumstance. You can't generalize these things.
No, it is absolutely according to the requirement of each person. Generalization, yes, you can generalize in the sense that this is the direction we need to go in. How we do it, the specifics, they could differ for each person in many different ways.
So there's no one particular confirmed path to follow?
Not necessarily, no. But the goal, the ultimate place where we are reaching, that is self-knowledge. It's knowing oneself, knowing the truth of our existence. Destination is the same.
So you have been in both places. You've been in a place where things have been, in terms of life, very external, and also you've been here for the past 18 years. Can you speak about both in their own perspective?
Naturally, when you are living in the world is so full of distractions. It's so many things happening. The attention will want to wander outside, want this, want that, This is as of what the modern society has become. It has changed itself into an entire hub of distractions. There is no peace, natural peace that people are able to abide with. Very few people are able to abide with, and that majorly depends on how simply they are living their lives. Whereas living in an atmosphere whereby you are made to contain yourself, to live in a natural discipline with yourself, it's difficult, it's not easy, it's much more demanding on you physically, emotionally, mentally. At the same time, it's more fructifying. You are far more peaceful, you live far more peacefully. You don't tend to get completely swayed by the currents of life. there is a sense of peace that comes, there's a sense of balance that comes, there's a sense of stillness that you are to abide with, out of that discipline. It comes out of that discipline with yourself. And discipline doesn't mean like a hardcore, rigid, timed way of living. Discipline means more living with a truer sense of what comes to you from within and listening to that, to accepting that, accepting the voice that comes from within, from the heart. Having the courage to abide with it. It takes a lot of patience, perseverance, determination, courage. But once you have learned that this is the way to go, it is coming out of a sense of grace, it is coming out of a sense of communion you feel with your own spirit, your own Atma, or God, or whatever we call it. Then you will not feel lost. You don't feel lost, you don't feel confused. Even if you happen to feel lost or confused, it's not like a desperate or a worrisome situation. You live with far less anxiety because there is much more faith. You feel stronger. You just accept that grace. You just accept life for what it is. Nothing more, nothing less.
What is life as it is?
Just being yourself. Not having to pretend, not having to have an idea about who or what you want to be. Just being as it is, being yourself. Being simply who you are.
Now you've been with several different masters and you've also had very close association with them. How best would you say can one live with the master or serve the master? What is the proper attitude that one must develop to please the master?
Absolute and total surrender. Complete faith. No doubts. If you have the grace, if one has the grace to come close to a master, and if a master accepts you and you have accepted that master, then you must have absolute total faith. There is no other way, If doubt is ruling the mind, if fear is ruling the mind, then truth shall not be received as grace. There will be always some doubt in relation to that gift, that blessing. You may have the most precious blessing and yet doubt it for what it is. that completely spoils everything. That spoils your sadhana, that spoils your dedication. But when you're determined to go, to really abide, to find the truth, to live in that, then even if you happen to by chance encounter a fake master or a not so realized master, it doesn't really matter. Your realization will reveal itself. We go to the master so we can come to know ourselves. In the process of doubting the master, we are also doubting ourselves. And when we start to doubt ourselves, we are doubting the entire blessing of existence that wishes to unfold its reality to us. So, when you get the chance to serve a master, you allow that service to be done with a complete heart, with absolutely no reservations. And it will always be that the master will never prod you or force you to go against what your own natural conscience speaks to you, or your own natural morals speak to you. A master will never force you to go in the other way. A genuine master will never force you to go in against your own conscience. He naturally reveals to you more of you for yourself rather than less of you for yourself. Eventually he even takes the attention away from himself and makes you focus completely on your true self. So even if you approach the master thinking that the master is just the body, he destroys that notion. He completely annihilates that notion. He destroys that notion. So you can abide with what is true within you. That is what makes a big difference. A master who can a teacher who can wake us up from the sleep of ignorance that we are caught up with, especially the ignorance of the physical body, physical cage. He frees you from that. That is his purpose. Whether be it his own or be yours, it doesn't really matter. He frees all notions that are in relation to the body, that are in relation to the physical nature of life. That we believe that we only exist as the physical nature of life.
Initially, when we come to the master, the attitude is very humble and simple.
Yes.
But then after a few years, that very person begins to take things for granted, becomes more egoistic.
A lot of resistance comes out.
And also, even in relation to the very master that he reveres, a lot of unnecessary emotions begin to spurt out.
Yeah, they will happen. When the mind has to surrender its false nature to realize the true nature. The mind has to accept its falseness in order to awaken towards truth. We are living as if what we are thinking is real, and it's not always true. That all that appears on the surface is what is true. So naturally, when the deeper tendencies or the deeper desires of the mind are released, the hidden desires of the mind are released, it's bound to react. It's bound to react with a lot of intensity. It's bound to react with a lot of unwillingness. And it takes time to come to acceptance. But it does. Eventually it does. Because whatever work that grace does on us never goes wasted. It bears fruit. If not now, then maybe a little later. If not this lifetime, then perhaps the next lifetime. But it doesn't really matter. Whatever the work of grace that is manifested in our being, whatever the work of grace that has happened in us, it has only helped us towards a greater integration. Our foresight does not allow us to see that. If we had the foresight to see it, because we don't have that, we live as if we don't have any foresight. But with a little foresight, we can see that in the longer run, whatever is really happening on the short term, it seems as if the mind is just giving up all hope. It's reacting, it's frustrated. A lot of negative tendencies are coming out, things that you don't want are happening, and that you are surprised seeing your own reaction as to how, wild you get. It doesn't really matter. But in the longer run, all these poisons of the mind are released. They are released, and then the mind lives with a with much more purity. It lives with much more acceptance. It lives with much more grace. Lives with much more surrender. So it deepens that process of surrender. But we have to see it as it unfolds. You can't just bracket your life in terms of saying that, okay, this is happening now and this is how it is. No, it's not like that. It may appear to be like that. Even to the person who's next to you, it may appear to be like that. But it is not like that. Over a period of time, all these latent tendencies release, and once they are released, mind experiences a greater sense of happiness, a greater sense of peace.
Then why is it that one feels such a drastic difference when a master is in the physical
Body,
being,
yeah.
and then after when he leaves the physical being?
Naturally, there will be a difference. When the body is there, your mind will be less prone to cheating itself. It has some nature of caution. Maybe sometimes a little bit fear, but more caution it experiences with itself. So it will not want to cheat itself, because it knows that the master is physically there to correct you, you know. That is as far as when you are approaching it from the point of view of the sadhaka. But when the master is not there, that does not mean that grace is not there. I mean, when the master's body is not there, it's not possible that the master is not there. But even if the body is not there, the master is still there. His presence is still there. He still works. He is working even more actively. He is more alive within you. And he uses everything in nature, everything in existence to do what needs to be done in order to see that the work is fulfilled, that the transformation is experienced. Only when the master is in the body, it tends to be far easier. Because we are able to have, in case of any doubts, it becomes far easier to go and speak to him about your doubt or to clarify the doubt, and he indicates it very clearly, he communicates very clearly. But when the master is not in the body, the communication is still there, more subtle. More subtle. But it's not possible that the master cannot be there. He is always there. He was there, he is there, he will always be there.